Boruto episodes 83 and 84, Ohnoki's Justice and Ohnoki's Thoughts, Ku's Thoughts. So I am about a solid month and a half behind on Boruto. Admittedly, I think it hit the point where I was just like, I was behind, and I did like my one little episode a few weeks back, and I was just like, man, Boruto, it's just the show just doesn't really hook you that much, and it's really unfortunate. Love Naruto, of course. Loved all this. When they get to cool portions, it's cool. This is like legitimately in the middle of some stuff where it's just like, So I was decided it's finally time to get back to it. Obviously, with me being like 6 episodes behind, I didn't even want to bother doing every single episode. So I don't know if I'll do every episode in twos or how I'm going to do it. But I thought these 2 episodes kind of fit well together because, of course, this comes with episode 83. It's right after the revelation where everyone realizes that Ohnoki is actually the villain that they're kind of going up against a little bit. And I thought it was cool. It was like, all right, well, what's going on here? Why is this guy who is one of the heroes of the Great War, former Tsuchikage, why is he suddenly turning evil? What is the deal with this guy who's been established as a hero becoming a villain? And they do a pretty good job explaining it, actually. I thought it was a simple concept. It was like he pretty much becomes a villain to, in everyone else's eyes, based on the fact that he wants to help everyone. Some of the deaths and stuff like that were actually accidental. It was like, I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't plan on that happening. That's a really unfortunate, circumstance that took place. But my goal was basically, and it was kind of funny, admittedly, his story was pretty much kind of what the basis of the show is a little bit, is that, like, we're kind of in a time of peace. People train, but they kind of like, they textbook train, which they talk about a lot more in episode 84 when they get to like the crazy barrier area. But I thought it was cool. They revealed that Ohnoki's plan was to create this army behind his granddaughter's back, because she was like, well, we can't do this. Like, these things went crazy. They almost killed him, in that flashback. They stopped listening to him. And it's like, we can't do this. Like, there is, peace between the great nations, and to create a secret army, for our use only, could disrupt that peace, because people might see it as a secret tactic for, from us, that we plan on, sending out a bunch of clay, cannon fodder, a cannon fodder army to attack them and stuff like that. So it made sense from her perspective, and it was kind of just crushed right there, because I feel like they could have gone through and worked on it together, and I think it would have come out a lot easier. Or it could have been something that they did between all the villages, and I think that would have been something that could have worked. And instead of taking it to that step where it's like, all right, well, instead of it just being for us, let's make it for everybody, she was like, well, you only want to save our people, which pretty much is what he wanted. Because they were attacked by, a rogue group of ninja. Or they say rogue ninja. I don't know if it was, because ninja's ninja, so I don't know if it was like they just didn't put the S on it, so it was one person, or if it was plural. Because I'm like, was it rogue ninja like a group of ninja? Because ninja can be, it's just like samurai. Like you don't have to put. You can put ninjas on if you want to, but you don't have to. So I was like, was it a group or was it one person? So either way, they got attacked and a bunch of young people died because they were too weak. So he wants to make this army. The clay figures don't end up listening to him, and so he's kind of shut down by that. And so he's like, well, I still want to do it anyway. And that's where Ku comes in, and we find out the reason that he calls Ohnoki his father is because he's basically like Mitsuki, and he's a clone of Ohnoki, which I thought was super cool. And that also explained why he had his exact ability, because he was able, he's a legitimate clone of him, so he has his exact powers. So technically still related, but not in the way that I thought, where it was like, their stories are always, they're always related to each other. So in a different way, but he's a clone. And I thought that was a great conversation between Ku and Mitsuki, where he's like, I call myself Ku because it basically means empty. It's like I'm an empty shell. And in the past, Suki used to be a word that was also used for something that was empty or, void. And so, we're the same. And, he says Mitsuki. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool that they did that. I don't know if they had that plan like way down the line, or they just did some really cool research for Mitsuki's character and it just happened to play out that way. But I was like, that's really interesting that came up and that actually happened to be a thing. But that probably was there the whole time. Like, he's kind of an empty shell, but he, not 100%. So I like that idea. And they go through the process of trying to figure out, like, what is a soul? Or Mitsuki's trying to figure it out. But I thought it was good. I like the episodes. I thought they were actually decent. We get the backstory. It makes sense why he's seen as the villain, but he's not really a villain. And then we find out that all the bad stuff that actually happened was, just coincidental. Like, it wasn't really meant to be that way. And that's just how it ended up playing out, because they needed Mitsuki because of how Ku is formed. And Mitsuki being the same way, it was like, he's going to be the thing. He's that key to help us get where we need to go and have these creatures officially listen to us. But also there's a lot, kind of thrown in from the concept of the one dude who, like, right, I would assume he's like right under Ku, but the guy with the long hair and the tonfas, he's the one who seems to be kind of branching out into the idea, like, in this case, they're not technology, so I can't say AI, but it's, that idea of he's going beyond what he's told to do. Like, he's like, well, what if we do this and what if we do that? He's the one raising all those questions. So I assume, if it hasn't already happened within like the next couple episodes, I assume he's going to end up being, kind of turning on them. I don't know if Ku's going to get taken out, because I would assume he's way stronger than the other guy, because Ku is a clone, but the other people are still like puppets and stuff, because they were breaking down. In one of these episodes, the dude with the crazy hair and the girl, she was starting to break down too. So, they, I would assume, are not nearly as strong as Ku, being a clone and everything, but they still have that individuality where they get to choose, like, hey, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And even though they follow the rules, it's constantly brought up, like, well, why don't we do this instead or something? So I assume that that's going to end up happening towards the end, maybe after they're officially healed and, like, they're in their perfect form or whatever. Then it's going to be like, all right, well, we're not going to break down. We already got what we needed from him, being Mitsuki. So if we got the extra components from him to live forever, why do we really need to listen when we can just go out and technically, basically be human and live our own lives and do whatever we want forever, until someone like completely decimates us or something. So I feel like that's where it's headed with that character specifically. But it was interesting. I still enjoyed it. I like the scene where Boruto realizes that he's in like this training ground, and that's where they get to the concept of Ohnoki basically saying, like, everyone's weak now. And that's been a big part of the series, where a lot of the characters are far weaker than the older characters because they didn't live during the time of war. They didn't have to really train hard. It was like, yeah, we read in textbooks how to scavenge and stuff like that, but we never really went out to train. It's like, well, that's why I need this army, because of stuff like what you just told me. You don't know how to scavenge for food. You don't know how to make fires. You don't know how to cook. You don't know how to do any of the things that ninja need to truly survive in this world, but you read it in a book. So just reading it and it's just class, like, oh, that's boring. You don't know what to really do. Like, you can fight, sure, but you can't even survive, in this little wasteland that we're stuck in. So now they have to go through this whole concept of finding their heartstone and realizing who they truly are and stuff, which I hope leads to something cool for Boruto. I think that would be interesting. And I'm curious what we'll get for Ohnoki. I know there's some new character that gets introduced, so I guess someone else just wanders in and he gets trapped too, I guess. So I'm not entirely sure how that plays out, but I thought there were 2 decent episodes. I like getting the backstory. I like getting to see, the idea, when it's always like, well, why would a hero become a villain? What's going on there? And it turns out that he's not really a villain. He just wants to help in a way that wasn't necessarily seen as the right way, but he kept doing it anyway. So, of course, that leads to him kind of being the bad guy, and him, of course, stopping everybody, and the kids, of course, believing that Mitsuki, was kidnapped and all that extra stuff that they didn't really know. But I liked it. I was like, all right, these are 2 good episodes. I'm looking forward to the next, next 4 episodes, I guess. But like I said, not sure how those reviews are going to come up, if anyone's going to watch these anyway. Not that like a month and a half old anyway. But definitely enjoyed these. I thought, like I said, I thought they were decent episodes. So I'm looking forward to some of the enhanced story elements, what's going to happen with Mitsuki, them revealing the curse mark, what happens when they, work past that, what's going to happen to his character. So I am looking forward to some of these extra elements that are going to come up from the experiment. But of course, we'll love to know what you guys thought about these episodes, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And I would love to know what was your reaction to Ohnoki's story, like when it was revealed, like, this is why, he's like a villain at this point. This is why it's happening, and this is his reasoning for it. Like, did you agree with his reasoning? Do you think that they could have done something? Because like I said with the Tsuchikage, she could have just been like, all right, well, let's expand it to everyone. Instead of keeping it hidden and making it seem that way, she could just tell the other villages, like, hey, this is what he came up with. We all fought in the war together. What do you guys think about this idea? That way the kids don't have to be sacrificed. They can still train as ninja, but just in case, we have cannon fodder. They easily could have done that, but instead it was just like, no, this will be a thing that you keep secret. And it's like, well, if you told everyone, then it would just be, a full thing between the villages, and that could have been how it worked out. But that's not how it happened, because there wouldn't be any action. But I would love to know how you guys feel about the revelation of how everything played out and why Ohnoki took these steps that he's taken and the unfortunate consequences and coincidental and incidental consequences that have taken place, since he kept the experiment going. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.